Oh, yeah. Welcome to the 710 Report. Second edition. I found the music. We're talking about THC today. I just got to figure out how to fade it out. You like this? Fade it out. What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having a good Thursday, right? Is it Thursday yet? Everybody had a good Wednesday. Here, talking about THC, something near and dear to my heart for so many reasons, but I'm also talking about THC and marketing, the other thing that's, I don't know, love-hate relationship with in my heart. But, we all know that high THC is the thing that everybody's going after. What is my percentage? Is it over 20? Is it under 10? How much THC am I getting? It's kind of, it even determines how much the way marijuana is taxed in this country in a lot of different places. There's taxes on the level of, the taxes are higher on the higher THC. And why is that? Why is high THC such how did it become such an important thing when it comes to cannabis? Because if you can remember, not too long ago, we didn't even know what percentages were. We didn't know what high THC was. We know what was good. There wasn't all these lab tests and all of that going on. So how did we get to this place where everybody wants the highest number? In my opinion, it's very simple. There's definitely a merit to the fact that THC can get you higher, right? So it can definitely affect your brain a lot more. But whether or not that's a good or a bad thing is not, it kind of remains to be seen. And it also depends on who you are. But when it comes to selling cannabis, and I think that's where we really got into these numbers, is the cannabis sales. So when you walk into a dispensary and you have this array of different strains to pick from and different products to pick from, people are looking and they're saying, well, which one's better? Which one's going to be good for me? Which one is the most value for my dollar? Because it's going to, cost me X amount of dollars for this, and I want it to last as long as possible, and I want to have, get the most bang for my buck. And that's generally how people think about making purchase decisions. How do I get the best one? One of the best ways to help them make that decision is to put numbers to it. Numbers make things very, very, very simple, because the higher number is better, the lower number is not as good. And that simplifies things for people to make a decision. So if I'm looking at two different things and I'm trying to make a decision, one is 15%, the other one is 20%. I'm going to go with the 20% because it's simply a higher number. It makes decision making very, very easy. And the alternative is looking at the balance of the strain. How does it taste? How does it make you feel? Finding different things. The decision making can be daunting when it comes to picking the right strain, having to try different things. It's not a simple thing. So, in an effort to make things simple and make people, make that choice, we've turned to these THC numbers, and it's a feedback loop because people demand it afterwards. Like, people want those high THC numbers, and then that's how they're shopping. So then everybody has to kind of fall in line. Well, if people are shopping by THC numbers, I'm going to need to have my THC numbers, be higher, and you got to get in there. So that's how I think we got here. Why is that a problem? I think is because high THC, well, a couple of things. High THC, first of all, isn't the best thing for everyone. It can, lead to psychosis. For me, it leads to inability to focus. When I do too many dabs, I really can't focus. Like, my mind is like almost numb. And some people, they may have pain or a PTSD or something where this is the sensation they're looking for. So I'm not knocking the high THC products like they're not good or valuable or medicinal, because they are. They're just not for everybody. And I feel like it's become more of a, I got the best product because it's a higher number, than I need these high THC benefits, if that makes any sense. So you have this market that's pushing this numbers model, right? And then you have people that are kind of feeding into it and they are demanding these numbers. And what's being overlooked is, the bad things that can come from too much THC when it's not balanced out with other things. And the balance, that the benefits that you can be missing out on by not having a more balanced strain, not having, a balance of CBD and THC and other cannabinoids and flavonoids and terpenes. I mean, it's something that is talked about, that I've talked about a lot, but it's not simple. And that's kind of the hurdle. It's not simple. And I've tried for years, and Nurse Colleen has tried for years to try and simplify it for people. But even for us, it's not easy. It's not easy for me to pick the 15 over the 20 when I go into the dispensary, because something inside of me is like, I'm not getting as much. I'm not getting enough. Right. But I encourage you to take a step back from that. I encourage you to take a step back and look at the balanced type strains, and step back from too much THC and give it a shot. Just give it a shot, because you can experiment with yourself. Just try and figure out yourself. I know that I reach a point where I'm smoking a lot of high THC, or I'm consuming a lot of high THC. And for me, it gets to the point where I am not feeling, I feel like I'm not getting as much out of it anymore. It's like, it's too much. Like my receptors are being like shot. Like I can't get what I'm looking for. And then if I cut back, some people call it a tolerance break. I call it not smoking for a few hours or so. If I cut back, smoke smaller joints, less THC, CBD, add more CBD, I tend to feel a little bit better. The effect tends to be better. I feel it more in my body. I feel more relaxed, less anxiety, but I think the combination makes me feel like it's affecting me more. Like I feel like the high THC is like, wasn't doing as much, and now that I'm lowering the THC and having more of the CBD and they're more of a balance, it feels more effective. Like I feel it throughout my whole body and not just up here. So I think that, moving forward, I think what we're going to see is the numbers game can only be played so far. So we can only go so high with these numbers where people are going to start, seeing the adverse effects. We're already seeing, CHS cases, and things like that happen when people are taking too much and dabbing too much, and it definitely can lead to psychosis. People with schizophrenia could have a hard time with it. So I think there's going to be a trend moving towards more balanced things, and not just in the strains themselves. So there are strains out there that have been developed, some of them the most heavily researched in the world, that help with this, that actually have a 1-to-1 ish kind of ratio, like 1 part CBD to 1 part THC. One of the best ones is available at Vitacan from Tycoon, Heal the World, however you say. And it's called Midnight. This is it right here. The Midnight 1-to-1 from Tikkun Olam. And the Midnight is a basic 1-to-1. It's about 10% CBD to 8% THC. So it's a little tiny bit higher in CBD. Here's another picture of it from that you can see the actual bud in there. But this is a 1-to-1, and there are other 1-to-1 flowers out there. This tends to be the most heavily researched, and is available in Florida. It's not available all the time, but it is available from Vitacan. So if you check that out, they have the flower, and then they also make tinctures. They make the not gummies, but the chews. They make 1-to-1 chews, and I believe they make a chocolate, but I don't remember if they have the midnight chocolate yet. They might be coming out with that. They also make a midnight balm, like topical. And this is a 1-to-1 ratio that's naturally grown, a 1-to-1 ratio naturally grown um, uh, in the flower, right? So that's one way to get that ratio. And to me, that's got to be pretty difficult to grow. I'm not a grower, so I don't know. It's pretty difficult for me to grow anything, but to get those percentages kind of balanced, that seems like, you got the strain and then you got to raise that stuff right. So that's probably why you don't see a lot of it. That and the demand for CBD flower is not as high as it used to be. You used to be able to find high CBD flower in a lot of the smoke shops. But that's given way to the wave of Delta 8, Delta 10, and things that get you high. So it's become increasingly difficult to find high CBD flower, but you can still find it. And if you are able to find it, the stuff from the dispensaries, the higher CBD flower from the dispensaries is going to be um, better because I believe the conditions that they're raised in are better. They're not trying to keep the THC super low. They're trying to have they're trying to just have a very high CBD. It's probably grown indoors, whereas a lot of the hemp is grown outdoors and stuff. So the dispensaries have good quality high CBD flower, but it can be expensive. So you going over to the smoke shops, it's become increasingly difficult to find it, right? It's become increasingly difficult to find CBD flower because its place has been taken by Delta 8 stuff. You go in there and it's all Delta 8, maybe a jar of CBD flower that's left over from a year ago. So I don't think that that's going to last. I think there comes a point where um, a lot of people start to see through all the marketing and people are getting, too high. We've seen, some of the adverse effects of Delta 8 and HHC and stuff. And it's not like they're inherently bad. The people aren't given much guidance with them. People, eat a bunch of edibles and, who knows what necessarily happens. It's very unregulated. So you can find that CBD flower out there, and one of the best things to do, and I think this is going to be a thing now. I don't know if you know, but in England, in the UK, a lot of marijuana smokers also smoke tobacco, and they roll spliffs, they call them, and they mix tobacco and marijuana, and it's a big, big, big thing in Europe. I know a couple of people in Manhattan that would do that because they thought they were like cool, because they want to do it the European way. But I don't know anybody that rolls their own cigarettes, let alone puts weed in them. But I think that a trend is going to be mixing CBD flower with the THC flower because I think that that's easier than trying to get these strains that are balanced naturally. I mean, it's that should be a goal to get those, but it's easier to get a 20% THC strain and a 20% CBD strain and simply mix them together. The hard part right now is finding that high quality CBD flower because a lot of it is grown outdoors. A lot of it doesn't taste that great. There's, the minimal regulations mean you don't really know how long that's been in the jar, when that was technically harvested. It's a kind of a big gray area. So you have to do some hunting. For instance, we're going to head down to Miami to go try and find a good source for CBD flower, visit a few farms, because I think what's going to come down to is taste. People are going to want taste out of it. So what can you kind of take from all this? Try and remember when you go into the dispensary that it's a numbers game and that psychologically you automatically want to go to the higher number or the lower number if you're playing golf, whatever it is. The numbers are a ranking system. So your brain is automatically thinking about this ranking system. It's very difficult to get out of that mode. What you should do is try and think about the things that have affected you in a positive way in the past. If you can remember strains or flavors, tastes, even percentages that you have enjoyed in the past. You may have, I've had 17%, 15% strains that were fantastic, and 30% strains that were just I did not like at all, and it's really it's very, very subjective. It's more complicated than you might think. So I think the best thing to do is to try different things and keep a record of what you like. There's different journals you can use. How did this feel? If I like this, where did I get it? All that kind of stuff. Um, and try mixing things with CBD flower. It's something that we've been doing, and I have really enjoyed the results. I think there's other things that are going to also come into play, such as the CBD extracts and concentrates can be used to mix in with things. Something to offset a lot of this high THC, because remember, CBD balances out the THC. And one thing I did want to mention is about anxiety. And I think a lot of people who use cannabis for anxiety are probably exacerbating the problem by using too much cannabis. So what tends to happen, at least as I've seen, is you have anxiety, you smoke cannabis, it helps, and then you continue to smoke cannabis, and maybe you're smoking too much THC and it's giving you more anxiety. But you think, because you've already had the experience of having the anxiety and smoking weed, that it's going to take it away. So you smoke more weed, more THC, and you get on kind of like this treadmill of smoking to get rid of the anxiety, and it making it worse, and then smoking again. And you don't realize that that's might be what making it worse. You might think, well, it's just not making it go away anymore. Right. So if that's happened to you, and it's happened to me, specific strains make me like shake. If that's happened to you, try lower percentage flower, right? Maybe if it has more CBD in it, and if it doesn't, add some somehow. Get some hemp flower, get some. They have different CBD concentrates that you can get, and really kind of try and put yourself in a mindset that it's not always about the numbers. It's very difficult to do, admittedly. It's difficult for me to do. But right now, I think, some of the best things that you can do is get some of the those midnight products from VitaCam. But the reason that I like them a lot is that they're from Tycoon, and they have the most research. They've put the most research into cannabis for specific ailments and things. And the 1-to-1 ratio from a company that has all of these years of research is pretty valuable, and we're pretty lucky to have that in Florida. So if you are near a VitaCan, I would definitely check that out. If they don't have the flower, check out the tincture or the chews or the topical, or I think they have a vape as well. The vape was probably the best bet because it's a nice 1-to-1, and it can help you right away. Another thing to do is maybe have a CBD vape, and that can help with offsetting some of the THC. But all in all, this is something that I've talked about, and one of those things that I can talk about and still fall victim to when I walk into the dispensary. I still want, what are the numbers? Because it's much easier, and I don't like making decisions, like especially about dinner and stuff like that. What's for dinner? I don't know. So that's my spiel for today. Hope everybody, thanks for sticking around. I appreciate that. I see Carrie down there. Hey, Carrie. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, yeah.
Heard a couple of those sound effects.
That's
See
what she
TI
said.
in there. TI says, I think people have been scared by big farms with CBD flower. Look for local indoor grown CBD flower. Can be a very pleasant experience. That's what we're talking about, TI. That's what I'm trying to get. I need to get some legit hemp. That's what I'm looking for. Legit hemp. All right. So on that note, hope everybody has a wonderful Thursday, and take it easy on the THC. Peace out.